Migrating from Salesforce to HubSpot is dangerous, but if you know this secret, you won't have a problem. In this episode, you'll learn how to safely migrate from Salesforce to HubSpot. Welcome to HubSpot Mentors. I'm Semi with my colleague Richie, and we're going to be talking about everything to do with Salesforce and HubSpot. So welcome to the podcast, Richie.
Welcome. You said the S word, man. That's a scary one.
So backstory, Moby calls him Voldemort. If for those Harry Potter fans.
You can't say that
word, we're not talking about Voldemort, but in this episode, we are going to talk about it because it's one of those things where enterprise businesses may consider Salesforce in the beginning, or maybe they have Salesforce and they just want to get more of their tool, and they might hit roadblocks, and they'll look for some different alternatives, and they end up with HubSpot. And this is that conversation.
And we're kind of seeing it happen more and more now, isn't it? Wouldn't you say so? Like all of a sudden, we've been getting a lot of these deals where the pain point was that little S word, and then for some reason they turn to HubSpot and say, hey, look, we're having problems with X, Y, and Z. Can HubSpot do this and take us through this journey? And part of it then becomes this natural migration piece, right? And there's two parts to it, right? There is the very nitty-gritty kind of, it needs to be coded in terms of the integration, but it can also just be a simple export and import, which you're also finding that happens quite often as well.
Yeah. So just a fun fact for those that may or may not know, when HubSpot was building out HubSpot, they maybe verify this, I don't know, just going to say it.
It's verified.
They were using Salesforce as their driver.
No way. Okay, I did not know this. Okay.
And then they switched over. When they were switching over, they built this amazing integration piece. So if you were to look at HubSpot and Salesforce integration, it does a really good job. And where HubSpot fits really well for those marketing people is HubSpot was or started off as a marketing tool. Then obviously they evolved. And now people that are on Salesforce find that when they use HubSpot, that's a good fit.
Yeah.
Because top of funnel comes from HubSpot. It gets fed into Salesforce, and then Salesforce takes it over from amazing, the tools that he has apparently. So
and you could definitely do it that way. Or since your top of funnel stuff is already on HubSpot, might as well just carry it through all the way down. But I guess on that particular topic, right, let's talk about the biggest issues when we're trying to migrate Salesforce to HubSpot. Like we've done this plenty of times now, Sammy, you and I especially. What are some of the things that we've kind of realized?
Honestly, it depends on the scope on how much you're gonna, migrate from. If you've been using Salesforce as like a glorified address book that, is a little different, right? Then sure, it's easier because you might have like just a couple objects. If you're familiar with HubSpot and Salesforce, objects, contact means objects, in Salesforce, same thing with HubSpot as well. They operate very similar in that sense. So if you're talking about it, that's the main kind of difference. So it's easier to be able to bring that. HubSpot is a contact first CRM, which means the source of truth lives with the contact, with the person taking the action. Yeah. Well, Salesforce is a little bit different. You have to create a lead, then go into contacts, then it goes into XYZ. So like the funnel starts off with a lead, which is a separate object, right?
Yeah.
So in saying that, there's the bigger issues is like trying to understand the architecture of both systems and going, okay, cool, let me funnel this into my migration plan.
And on that as well, right? I can speak from personal experience because I am currently doing a Salesforce to HubSpot kind of quote unquote migration as well. And the client actually gave me a big old file that was zipped and I had to pretty much expand. And what I realized is that obviously, we're not Salesforce experts, okay? We have to put it out there or like fair and square. And as I was going through this, there are like so many different objects here. Like, look, opportunity, line item, order items, supplier, like all these custom things. And it was like a sheet of, I don't know how many this is, 20 or so. But when you actually drill down and boil down to it, again, controlling the scope too is something that we do very well here, is that at the end of the day, what actually matters when you're moving from one software to another is, what is the core focus? And out of these 20 different spreadsheets, I identified just 3 things, right? Which is contacts, companies, which I think is called accounts or something instead of Salesforce, and then opportunities in Salesforce, but it's called deals for us. At the end of the day, that's what really matters, and the associations between these different objects. And you could pretty much ignore everything else. Of course, this is a case-by-case basis, okay? But what I realized too is that maybe a migration too is also a blessing, right? Because do you want to port over all of the stuff that historically maybe it doesn't make sense, it was used wrongly? And I think a migration is a blessing because you get the chance to start afresh. And if you're able to scope out the migration properly, you are really bringing in the stuff that's important and just leaving the stuff that's just cluttered in your system.
And it's not only, that's a really good point, but it's also like who are the people that's looking to be using HubSpot versus like Salesforce, right? If you've got your full stack, salespeople operating all out of Salesforce and they've been doing a lot of it, expect that this is going to take a very long time and you stage a few things out and blah 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 blah. It's not going to be smooth transition unless you have a good plan in place. And I've seen through us and other companies that do their own migration stuff, if you're a Salesforce user, if you want to use it really well, you have to have a Salesforce admin by default, and they should be driving some of that change internally, even though they know that their job's gonna kind of get redundant, right? But it's really important they're involved in that because they understand the Salesforce architecture. And then when you're migrating it and you're working through a partner or you're working through the process yourself, either way, you have a like for like understanding of the systems to be able to pull that data in without any issues. You can end up with issues, but understand those key information that needs to come in, so it makes it super easier long term. So that's one of the bigger risks they'll be able to face.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, whatever exercise you're doing, right, having the architecture at least mapped out. It was funny, we were just talking about this right before. It's like before you do any heavy lifting or before you chuck data in anywhere, you need to be quite clear on where they're supposed to go, right? Where it's supposed to go, what information feeds into what. And I think people tend to rush into things a bit too quickly.
Business urgency.
Yeah,
I need this now.
But I get that. But you want rather me put the stuff in and then repeat the mess again? Or let's hold on, calm down, really map this out properly, so when we actually do import it, it's going to be clean, it's going to be nice, and then from there we can rush whatever direction that you want,
Another thing that we may or may not alluded to is the campaigns tool in Salesforce and HubSpot is like completely different, right?
Yeah, please tell me about that one. This is very interesting.
So campaigns tool in Salesforce is like a separate object on its own.
Okay.
Right? Where you have an event, and within that event or activity, you can attach everything towards that campaign, right? Like people, like accounts, like companies, right? Opportunities. You can attach a lot of stuff in there, and it contains the information around that specific campaign or event, right? With HubSpot, it's more like a activity or plug to the person, right? So if you were to go to a campaign, you can have separate sections of lists and stuff, but you can't explicitly say, okay, cool, this person attended this event, right, on this campaign within HubSpot, right? So that kind of needs to get handled a little bit differently. You can put in like properties and stuff. There's different ways of handling, the campaign feature of, because one of the pain points that clients would want to see is like, I want to retain my campaigns in Salesforce in HubSpot.
Right.
Well, they fundamentally work different. One is a feature, the other one's an object, right? HubSpot campaigns tool consolidates all your assets, or your marketing emails, or your, UTM links,
the workflows.
lists, workflow. No, I'm not sure about workflows, but forms and all that fancy stuff. It puts more together, right? Allows you to see the bigger picture of the campaign without going to the specifics of it. And you need to go specifics. You go to other tools like the contact object and bits and pieces, right? Or segments, for example, really good way. With the campaigns tool, it gives you in Salesforce, you click on the campaign, it gives you the campaign information and goes granular at the same time. So it's fundamentally different. So one's a feature, the other one's an object, which records information, right? So a very different tool. And so when you bring in that information, you need to decide, do I bring the campaigns in or do I not bring it in? Or do I bring them in as a separate custom object, right? These are the conversations that you need to kind of decide on what's really important for you. And go to your point, is sometimes the client's like, hey, you know what? I just want to know, if this person attended this event at some point in the future or in the past, right? And can just be handled as property. Like, it completely varies. So understanding that, going through that is a big issue. And then resolving it is a conversation that you need to genuinely understand.
Because inside of HubSpot, if we were to answer the question of, I want to see who engaged with this particular campaign, inside of HubSpot, there's actually a segment that you have to build out, right? So you build a segment, and it says if
That's
this
in HubSpot,
person, yeah, correct.
With Salesforce, you go into the campaign, you click on that, and you'll be able to see all the people, names of the people, and be able to see dollar amounts against the campaign. You'll be able to see all that information within that. Versus HubSpot, you see all the assets.
It's assets first.
That's correct.
So can flip it
And I guess to my point, HubSpot did remove the campaigns tool. Like for those that don't know, right? If you were to go into HubSpot new portals and stuff at some point, I know it's beta, it's actually called Marketing Studio, right?
And I think that's the next point I wanted to say. It's like for those marketers who want to answer a very simple question of I need to know who responded to this particular campaign, or like breaking down specifically which asset generated what type of engagement and the response rate or whatever. Man, I was playing around with Marketing Studio for a while now. I actually did it with a client, and I love it so much, man. And I think because it's asset first, you'll then be able to visualize it in Marketing Studio, what the entire journey is for a particular campaign, attach all the assets first, and then from there you can then start to break it down and segment this particular asset contributed to what type of engagement, and you can go from that way. I think it's really cool.
Just letting you know, HubSpot is a marketing tool in the beginning, right? It's the basis for it. It looks after your top of funnel. And again, just to reiterate, most businesses that have Salesforce that are really big and they're fancy, they probably want to keep, I know it sounds they'll probably want to keep Salesforce, and the first step is let's just replace the marketing aspect of it with HubSpot, right?
Yes.
And then, use the amazing integration that HubSpot has with Salesforce, bring in the relevant database to our salespeople, run them through Salesforce, and bring that information back into HubSpot so we can segment and do our marketing aspect of it again. That's the first step most businesses will take. So I don't think it's going to be it could be hey, let's migrate completely, or let's stick to one or the other. But
it's surprising how common that particular pain point is, man. I've seen it over and over
honestly,
again.
it just comes back. If you don't need to change it, don't change it. But if you are going to change it because it's really old and not many people using it, and it's complicated, frustrated, to your point, it's a good time to consider alternatives. Because HubSpot's no longer just a marketing tool, just for those people. I know I might be making it sound like a simple thing, but no, it's not. It's got a dedicated space for your BDRs, SDRs. It's got a separate place for your content writers. It's got a separate place for ads, your top of funnel, bottom of funnel, different objects, and they're replacing a whole bunch of stuff. So it's always growing.
I love a lot of the marketers love their UTMs. They love that you can attach it to the campaigns instead of HubSpot or Marketing Studio. Yeah. And it's very clearly attributed to the context, last touch, whatever shape attribution model you want to talk about, or start to report against. That's all available inside of HubSpot. It's really powerful stuff. I don't know. I feel like that's. Look, unless you want to go in and talk about maybe perhaps the details of how we were to do the import, but me that's boring stuff. I don't know.
That is a boring stuff, but honestly, for those people that are considering it, I would just one piece, and I spoke to multiple businesses that are considering it, right? They're like, hey, we haven't really decided yet. Should we not? I think it's more about a question on how big is your business. If it's really large and they're operating on Salesforce for everything, then dude, you it's like trying to leave an Apple ecosystem to Android, right? I don't even want to open that conversation up, but it's it's pretty bad, right? Yeah. So considering that, the second thing is if it's not that complicated, which I had a couple clients, barely using Salesforce, just want to get a new system. Easy for you, right? Just you can probably do it through your self partner, whatever that looks like. There's a lot of service out there. But if you're going through this major change, I would highly advise you, once you've decided, to go through with a partner that's done this, or integration experts that have this information, so you're not relying on new info that's coming in. There's plenty out there, right? Well, I'm not saying we should do it, but I'm just saying there's a lot of platforms out there, third-party integration tools. There's partners that will guide you through it. There's ins and outs of it. You can work through it. But the idea is that really consider it so that, as you said, don't rush, and be able to get the results that you need. What's one objection that Salesforce Migrator raises?
Man, I don't think, okay, in my own personal experience, I think it's not really like an objection. I can't really speak to that. It's more of like during the process in itself. I think during the process itself, a lot of our clients pretty much kind of just expect that if I just extract everything from Salesforce and then magically they can find a place in HubSpot to store the information. But a lot of the conversation we're actually having is having to, again, slow down and reconsider whether or not this information, number one, needs to be brought in. Where is it going to be housed in the first place? And then how is that going to actually be reflective inside of HubSpot? Because there is no direct one-to-one match between objects in Salesforce and objects inside of HubSpot.
They work fundamentally different.
It's different,
right?
man.
Just on that point too, it's like when you do a renovation to your house. Let's just say that you pay in this analogy, the house is your business, right? So you know the bones and structure around what that looks like, right? And then what you do is you want to get it renovated. So you pay a contractor to go renovate and you see the drawings and stuff and he goes away, you go on your holiday, come back and you go, oh, wow, this is a whole new different place. It's going to take you a while to figure out where things are at.
Yeah.
Same thing within HubSpot migrations. It's like, don't expect to find all the information that you're looking for in the space that you expect in HubSpot versus Salesforce.
Yeah.
The way you're operating in Salesforce is not going to be the same. It's different, right? Even though you've been in the house for 25 years, different within HubSpot.
Yeah, it's funny because we just did a migration, I guess, from Teamwork to ClickUp, right? And I think it's different from that because it's quite similar.
That's
right?
correct.
These two interfaces are quite similar. A task looks like this, but surprisingly in Salesforce, it's very different.
See, there's a difference between a tool and a platform. Right? A tool is like, I'm going to change from X brand of, phone to X brand of phone, right? Yeah. Sure, it's a little bit different, but apps, widgets, same kind of thing, right? But a platform is like an ecosystem. It's like a space where you go to build things, to create things, to change things, to communicate with things. It's like it's like going to a different country, right? So you can expect that.
We're going to a different country, man. Absolutely right. So if you guys want to know how to migrate from Salesforce to HubSpot successfully and hit the ground running, head to our website at redpandas.com.au and get in touch for a migration consultation.
Not only that as well, 100%, but we have so much resources that you can have a look at.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Tons and tons of. We put out 3 articles every week. So if anything that you need is in there, you'll be able to find it. Everything to do with HubSpot, a little bit of Salesforce, maybe. If you can find it, let us know.
You can see your beautiful face on it, Semi. All right. Thank you so much, man. That was a legend speaking to you. Take care.